yes. And what I can tell you without getting into classified conversations is that there have been incidences that I believe where very credible people have reported that there have been movement outside of time and space.
That's very vague.
Yeah. So have I seen a portal open? No. Have I seen a spaceship? Personally, no. Mr. Elizondo, to your knowledge, can you name the country and around time frame that the first back-engineered UAP program started? Have I seen evidence of this? Yes. Have I seen photo documentation of...
Ma'am, unfortunately, I would not be able to have that conversation in public.
Aircraft that believe were not made by mankind? Yes. Good morning and welcome to the hearing regarding UAP disclosures. Today, I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation. The ability for this tech, being that it exists, is there historical significance to this? Yeah. Is there multiple events that go back to maybe even before the time of Christ that have documented this? Yes. So in regards to these aircraft being piloted by whatever they might be, non-human biologics, would you agree that it's likely that they are being piloted by some mind-body connection? When you talk about like praying, that whole concept is kind of just like, oh, you know, they're just, and I feel like that thing's kind of poo-pooed, but if you have like a grounding, whatever these things have, these energy things have.
Energy things? What do you mean?
Well, they call them interdimensional beings. Check it out. What's interesting is the CIA allegedly located the Ark of the Covenant. So do I believe that the government has access to certain technology? Yes, to an extent. And
Provide group text spat. What?
Wait, like...
Does a group text argument that caused this stuff to be released?
No, check out. Begin to explain it. And all I'm going to say is, look, and we can go into some of the books that were removed from what we know as the modern day Bible, but I read through the book of Enoch multiple times. I guess would it be safe to infer that they're living craft?
What about the neighbors?
Well, it does say in Enoch, and then also too, I think in Genesis, that the stars cried out. Well, a star, if it's not, you know, what do they mean by stars crying out? And then Enoch actually alludes to stars being potentially angels. Now, I'm not saying like that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all? I'm not saying that like aliens created mankind. I'm not saying that these things are angels. I'm not saying that, you know, if you read the King James, you don't have access to God. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, Enoch is apparently supposed to predate the time of Genesis and talk.
The nuttiest one is Ezekiel.
I'm telling you, Enoch is even crazier than. Does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Mr. Moreland?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you can't find God through the new Bible.
The book of Isaiah was exactly the same in the Dead Sea Scrolls as it was 1,000 years later.
And the fact that this kid, you know, a shepherd kid, was able to even find these scrolls that they were set up, and, you know, just as led to that point right in time where he finds this admission that the Bible is real. He read the King James, you don't have access to God. That's not what I'm saying. The modern day Bible, you have this aspect of books of the Bible that have been removed that explain and touch on these topics, but you can't discredit it because, again, like when you have people removing books, I just, look, and I'm not telling people what to believe. I'm just that Revelations actually had replaced Enoch. People are talking about, and then you see and you read the book of Enoch, which is a wild read. And there's something to be said about the Ethiopian people as a whole.
When you had your encounter, you were in the CIC, is that correct?
That's correct, on an LCS ship.
I already have a chip in your head by then.
No, absolutely. Of me, of all people, no chips. We're chip-free. Going back to the Ethiopian Orthodox text, Enoch actually has reference to the Anunnaki. I know, by no means saying that, you know, aliens are God. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But I think that
it's regarded as scripture.
But what's interesting is that even if that's the case, though, you have the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that actually there's Ethiopian Jews. I'm telling you, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, a staffer that went to Ethiopia, and actually when I did my swearing in, I actually did my swearing in on the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's kind of crazy.
This is about national security, government accountability, and the American people's right to the truth. Why would our own government be looking into that if there wasn't something there?
Yes.
Like how many people like have all of a sudden like girlfriends,
hot
staffers?
Chinese girlfriend, wink wink. Guys are weak. All you have to do is be hot and be stupid. You're dealing with enormous sums of money, and I'm sure people got really rich off of that, and I'm sure it's super illegal if it's real.
The back engineering potential?
Yeah. I mean, and also the competitive advantage you would give company A if this company gets access to a down craft that can traverse space and time that can move through the universe instantaneously, that utilizes an unknown element, that has some unknown process of defying gravity. It's utilizing no interior mechanisms of control. Everything is done with the mind of the pilot. If this is the truth, if this is what they're saying, and these are the kind of things they find.
And if you're given a position of influence or a position of power and you're not doing the right thing for humanity, you're not guiding people, then that's something that you have to answer for. So I want to make sure that I'm good with God.
Hello and welcome to reviewing the best and worst CIA agents on the internet. Sorry, I'm terrible at speaking. Today we're going to be reviewing Paulina Luna, a representative from Congress, which is a little bit of a different take for the first time. These aren't just, random people on the internet. These are people who are making policy, and she's not the only one. And there have been a few, and I hope to cover those people as well. Now, how do I know that she's a spook? Well, honestly, the history goes back into this. When I first realized that there were psyops going on today in the first place. See, back in 2023, there was a man named David Grush, and he testified in front of the House Appropriations Committee about some money that he was having trouble exactly tracking down because it was top secret, because that money was apparently being used to reverse engineer alien technology in so-called biologics. That's that, material that Gary Nolan was talking about with all the intermingled goals and things like that. And if you want to know more about that story, they describe it looking like frog skin. And there's a podcast, I'll put it right here, on the Sean Ryan Show. And the more you kind of see all this and the more I explain how this all fits together, the more this coherent picture will all come together. So anyways, he also said that they found aliens and a lot of nonsense. And at the same time, they also called up Brett Weinstein and Sam Harris to ask their opinion about UFOs. And I respect both Sam Harris and Brett Weinstein, but what became apparent is that, one, obviously this is ridiculous. Hey, if you guys want to say that, well, maybe that is true, maybe they are reverse engineering alien biologics, and that they are these beings that are half spiritual and interdimensional and outside of space and time, and they leave frog skin pieces of themselves, and that this in some way has to do with those Chinese balloons. If you want to believe all that, that's fine, but I'm going to give a more reasonable explanation, and that's that this whole thing is a psychological operation that they want to dispel out to the community, the broad world, and that's partly evidenced by the fact that they would ask podcasters for their opinion on interdimensional beings that they're trying to reverse engineer. And, at the same time, while they have constant task forces, which happened after this, after that hearing, folks like Paulina Luna created a task force with Gary Nolan, that Joker in that other video I have, as an advisor on it, to subpoena the government about alien technology that they claim is real, that they've seen evidence of, that's, we'll get to in some of the clips here, we'll let her explain it, and you guys can make up your own mind exactly what's going on here. So that's all ridiculous, obviously, to take a step back. So what would be the purpose of putting out such ridiculous claims into the populace? Well, part of it is, if you want to see my Tucker Carlson video, it's that if you put a bunch of crazy conspiracies around something, it's a great way of hiding a real conspiracy. And this one is much more in a vague sense. It's not particular to September 11th, when that one, people will talk about building number 7 and talk about the explosive material that was found, or I guess at the scene, which are, very speculative and don't really make any sense and are easily explained. And why everyone is focusing on those flashy facts, no one points to the very simple fact that, wait a minute, the FBI, the NSA, and the NSA and the FFA all had pieces of this terrorist plot, but unfortunately there was no central agency where all that intelligence could be integrated into one place. And if only there was a central intelligence agency, that wouldn't have happened. Oh, wait a minute. there was one. So anyways, this one is a little bit different because it's more so you have characters like Joe Rogan, and the PBD podcast, or any number of podcasts who do actually a better job of being a journalist than the actual real journalists, because they'll actually have real long-form conversations with experts. They'll actually explain why something like might cause heart problems, it might cause issues and things like that. But if you also have on that same podcast, where they might be talking about the Wuhan leak and how that was funded by the CIA, if they also have that guy talking about interdimensional space aliens, you might be a little bit questioning about this guy's ability to discern what's real and what's not. And then if you go repeat that to your friend about the Wuhan and about all that together, they'll probably think the same thing, And so a lot of these operations are all to do that, to make sort of certain sources of information seem uncredible. One of which being the government, which is hilarious. But the other effect that it has, and that's so since about the early 2000s, it seems like the government, at least the CIA, has had an agenda against fundamentalist religions, and it's because they have romantic beliefs. They're not fact-based, fact-based, whatever. They're not, well, just to back up here, saying follow the science doesn't make sense. You can't follow facts. Facts are dead objects. You need to have an interpretive structure, and that interpretive structure is going to necessarily be a story, basically. Now, the CIA wants to be able to control that story to motivate you. We're after the Russians today, or China's the enemy. But if your fundamental story is a religious narrative, well, then they can't control you, and that's actually kind of an issue for them. And so, starting around the 2000s, when we started getting involved in the Middle East, and also that's also the origin of when we basically started, when the Russians started reaching out to us for help, because they were not for help, but they wanted to improve our relationship, and at the same time, we kind of started pushing them away. And it seems like the reason why that is because they have that sort of same issue, where they're a more romantic people. They're the soul of Dostoevsky and this weird kind of Christian resurgence that's happening in Europe in a way. And frankly, I would rather live in Russia than what I see happening in Germany right now. I know that sounds insane. And I'm not authoritarian, I'm not a fan of Russia or anything like that, and I don't know much about either place. It's just, from what I hear, it's becoming clear that the Nazis were always left-wing, in a way, But anyways, sorry, I'm getting way off topic here, but I just think this is all very interesting to think about. That the CIA's need to draw a distinction between the West and Russia apparently was so important to them that was the genesis of the Russia collusion narrative that was spun up about Trump. Okay, and it did twofold things. One, it hurt his election chances at first, even though he got elected. But then once he got elected, the fact that they could hold that over his head the whole time, it stopped him from moving forward with his plans, which were, even before he started his campaign and first began to run, he was being spied on even before he really started it. Before he even started the campaign, he was planning to revamp the West's geopolitical strategy towards Russia. And I think it was actually a good strategy. We would have avoided the Ukraine war, and a lot of people would be alive. So this is actually pretty serious. These are serious crimes we're talking about, you know what I mean? Not just 9/11, not just JFK, a million people that have died in Ukraine at this point, And these are just the things that I know about. I'm not into fucking conspiracies. The conspiracies came to me, okay? They fucking came to me. They came into my house, okay? Seriously. We'll talk about those stories later. There's a reason why this is a personal issue, okay? So anyways, I'm doing this to get my girlfriend back. That's gonna be nice. I love her. Just focus on that, okay? Anyways, so the other reason why this is good is because it allows them to recast past spiritual events like the resurrection of Christ, like sightings of angels in Ezekiel and whatnot, as, something that's actually alien. and that these are basically spirits or interdimensional space aliens that have always been acting on us and appearing in different forms in different times when we need them to guide us, you know what I mean? And that does one of two things. One, it makes the aliens sort of an amorphous shape that allows them to control us whenever they want, you know what I mean? Only the people who are religious, who they already think are kind of like backwoodsy people that's dying, so it's like they don't have to put a lot of effort in making this very convincing. It can be kind of ridiculous, in their opinion. Or it also is the dual effect where now people believe that there are aliens in the government, and the aliens are essentially like God. And if the aliens and God are in the government, then we need to listen to what the government says and just blindly trust, because they have interdimensional knowledge that we couldn't comprehend. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but like, that's what they want you to believe. And if you don't realize that they want you to believe that, look at what they're fucking saying. And if you think this is ridiculous and you think that they're lying, the answer is yes, you're correct. This is a CIA operation, and they will fucking threaten you and maybe even kill you. I don't even know why I know why I'm alive. It's because I have a very special private protection, and I'm under the suspicion that they would have killed me for blowing the lid on this obvious and incompetent shit. And you know, it's funny because I've actually caused a lot of trouble for them, and I fucking dropped out of community college. Like, these are not people who are deserving. I mean, no one deserves this sort of like Sauron, like ring, sort of like control everything and all the oppositions toward power. But especially not evil people. And we actually have that rule because evil people will unnecessarily fill that position over time, and probably pretty fast because they actually like power. And most good, moral people would get rid of such an organization immediately. A fourth branch of government that was designed to be unaccountable. It's a bad idea, and doing bad things, okay? And they killed Charlie Kirk. By the way, we'll talk about that more. You ever look at the dates of when I started posting these and when he died? I know I sound fucking crazy, and now I sound angry. Makes me sad. Okay, we're gonna move forward. I'm not sad because I know Charlie's in a better place. I know his spirit is with us, and it is like, you know, you're not made of matter, you're made of spirit, and he is a lion right now, my friends. Okay, so anyways, now you guys can enjoy some of the clips of this interview with Paulina Luna, and you can decide for yourself what is exactly happening here and what we should do about it. Now, I'm a Christian, and you should be too. So, we will use truth in words, and people who commit treason deserve and belong in jail. Okay? I'm talking to you! Not God, my upstairs neighbor. Alright. Anyways. So normally it would go and play the actual larger context of the clips I just showed to kind of demonstrate that I'm not ripping it out and showing something differently than what she's saying. But unfortunately it has too much copyright material. If you want to go see that version, it's on my X account, which is linked in my description. Or I would also suggest just watching the original Joe Rogan podcast, because it's a fun watch. There's a lot of good moments that, you know, I didn't include because I was trying to give it a little concise, dense version. But anyways, thank you.
Paulina Luna. 2.